You have 1 3/4 pies. Okay, this is gone, right? So you got this much. And there are 2 people, and you want to know how much each person gets. So how much do they get? Oh, it's easy to tell. They'd each get half of this, right? So they'd each get a half here, and then they'd each get
Thirds.
half of that. How much is that?
You got 1. 3.
So here's where you're going to cut the pie in half, right? One person gets this, one person gets that. Isn't that cutting it correctly? So how much do they get here? 3/8 each person, right? So now I have to take this half and this 3/8 and get common denominator of 8. That gives me what? 4/8 and 3/8 is 7/8. It looks like each person's going to get 7/8 of a pie. Is that right? So is that the answer you got when you did the division?
I got 7/2.
You got 7/2 when you did this. Would you like to come up and show how you did it?
I changed this to 4/4 divided by 1/2. And I did 7/4 times 2/1 equals 14/4 divided by 2 equals 7.
And what is 7/2? 3.5. This is equal to 3.5. Okay, so is the answer to our question 3.5 or is it 7/8? You what? It's 3.5. Each person gets 3.5 pies. If there's 1 3/4 and they're going to split it, that doesn't make sense, does it? Trisha?
Saying there should be 3.5 people, but you can't do that, so, right?
What's that now?
Isn't it like 3.5 representing the amount of groups that you're providing? So it was saying you'd have 3.5 people, but you can't have,
The groups are the halves, isn't it?
3.5 people, but like groups.
So what's the question? Is it a different question than Sarah's? Sarah's was, I have 1 3/4 pies, and I'm going to split those with a friend. How much do we each get? Something like that, wasn't it?
But if you were splitting it between 2 people, wouldn't it be 2 instead of a half?
What do you mean?
Like it'd be 1 3/4 divided by 2, because it'd be you and another person.
If you have 6 apples, you're going to split it with another person. It's 6 divided by 2. So you're saying that her word problem should be 1 3/4 divided by.
Half a person. Does that make sense? But like the way she, okay, never mind. But hers would be saying 1-ish. Never mind. I don't know. What were you saying?
Divided by 2, right?
You what?
Divided by 2.
Yeah, theirs would be divided by 2.
Her word problem
It should have been
is
2.
really divided by 2, not by a half. Okay? So you seeing what they're saying? Okay? I'm anxious to hear from someone who discovered that their word problem that they made up wasn't accurate either. Can we have another one? What's that?
I said mine was just a mess. I don't even. Yeah, she nailed it, so I
She nailed yours?
No,
No,
she
she
nailed
got
it.
it.
She got a good one.
Yeah, she got a good one.
Well, I'm after one that's not good. I'm after one that...
It was just so.
I think we can learn something from talking about one that we thought worked that didn't. Devin?
9.
Give us your word problem.
It was almost exactly like this, but instead of you have two people, how much does each person get? It was you have a friend who wants half of it.
And what did you have? Was it pies or what was it?
Pizza, but
So 1 3/4 pizzas.
and you have a friend, or your friend wants half of it, so that's what your friend gets.
Okay. And now what have you decided?
We talked about it, and it was like wrong because then, like if you were to make the problem back out, then you're, it would be like timing it by half rather than dividing it by half.
Timesing it by half would give you the answer to your question, but not dividing it by half. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Because timesing by half is the same as what? Dividing by 2. And if you want to split something between two people, don't you divide by 2? We don't divide by a half, correct? So yours was very close to hers. Okay? Let's take somebody who's got one that really, Jamie, nailed hers. Do you want to give us hers?
Well, so all I said was you have a container of flour and you have a cup and 3/4 of flour. And you want to make pizza, and each pizza takes half a cup of flour. So how many pizzas can you make? So you scoop out half a cup of flour for one pizza, another half a cup of flour for pizza, another half cup of flour for pizza, then you have another half left, a 4th cup. So you get 3 1/2.
3 1/2 pizzas. Everybody follow her? Here's my 1 3/4 cups. They're not pies anymore. And I need, how much for each pizza?
Half cup.
A half. What model is she using?
No, take away.
Repeated subtraction. I'm going to take out this half. There's 1. I'm going to take out another half. There's 1. I'm going to take out another half. There's 1. And then I can't take out an entire half, so I take out a what? A half of a half. The answer I get is what on this kind of model? How many groups of half I took out. And then I took out 1, 2, 3, and a half of another group, right?
I did one like that was a little bit easier to understand. I did it like with like quarters and like saying like some kid is going to the arcade and he has $1.75 and he wants to play like a game that costs 50 cents. How many times can you play the game? And when you think of it like quarters, you're like, oh, if it's 50 cents and you take away, 2 quarters, that's
Start over again. Say that again.
Okay, so I thought of it like a kid going to the arcade and he's got quarters to play games, right? He has $1.75. He wants to play a game that costs 50 cents. It's like, how many times can he play that game? You see what I'm saying? So then you are dividing how much money he has by those sets of 50 cents.
Okay.
So it's
Everybody-
just like hers, but it was just with quarters. And stuff.
All right. And you changed it in kind of decimals even, or quarters, or
Yeah.
instead of the actual fractions. 50 cents was a half a dollar. Okay. Anybody else have one they want to share? Or does your partner think yours was really good that could share? Yeah.
I think hers is really good. I don't know how to explain it. Really shitty. I understood.
Can you explain it?
So there's 1 3/4 pie left over. It has gone bad, and you need to put it in the garbage disposal. And the garbage disposal only fits a half slice in at a time. So how many pieces will it have to make in order to fit the whole pie in the garbage disposal?
In order to fit
Whole pie.
To get rid of it all.
all that you have. So we would first put this chunk in, then this chunk, and this chunk, so 3 1/2 times, I'm gonna have to go to the garbage disposal,
Well,
or,
actually, I did it the other way.
Four
I kind of
times.
said, I kind of drew it out and put it into fourths, because I knew I had fourths, 1 3/4. So I had 7 pieces there. Like, so if you divide those, I went off of the 4, and so I had 7 fourths. And then if I'm gonna need a half a piece, I just divided them each into half, and how many did I end up with? I had 14 fourths, which is 3 1/2. So I knew I had to put 14 in one at a time.
you mean 2 at a time?
The disposal could only hold half of a slice, and I had
Right.
7 slices to start.
You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7
Mhm.
pieces,
And I needed
and the
just
disposal holds
half a slice, and each of those
a
is
half a slice or a half a pizza?
Half a slice.
half a slice of pie.
What's a slice?
The slice.
You just have to
The
know.
4 slices, the 7 slices that you have in there. And then it
I
holds
divided
half.
them into 4 because of the 1 3/4 pie. So I said, I have 7 slices, so maybe it doesn't work
Yeah,
out.
7 slices, each a quarter size, right?
And I'm gonna divide them in half, because somehow I know, I've done this before, that my disposal only holds half a slice. So I split them each
And what's a
into-
half a slice?
So you,
I just took them all,
The half of the 4.
half of the 4. I divided the,
Oh, so you took these and divided them in
Yes.
half?
Yeah.
Okay,
because I needed
so
half a slice.
this is the amount that the disposal can hold?
Yes.
So what's the question?
How many times do you have to go to the?
How many pieces will I have to make? How many little half a slices can I put in? If I can only put half a slice in the disposal. Sorry, this is so complicated. How many will I end up with? How many times will I go to the disposal? How many times do I have to stick it in one at a time? And it's 14. Because I had 14
14,
fours.
so the answer is 14.
Right, but you
14 fours.
But you can simplify
I
it.
see what you mean.
Simplify that.
I see what you mean. But if I simplified it, I thought it worked, because if I simplified it, I got 3 1/2. But I think I'm seeing the problem with that now.
Yeah.
Because I don't have 14 fourths anymore.
If it's how many times I gotta go to the disposal, it's 14 times.
Yes,
I'll go once
it's
for
not.
this one, once for this, once for this, once for...
but it's
I'll go
not
14
fourths.
times, yeah. Yeah. This is an interesting one.
Maybe here's one that doesn't work.
very small disposal.
The way you originally stated it, if the disposal would hold a half of a chunk of, or half of a pie or pizzas,
Okay,
whatever,
whatever.
I would have to go to it 3 1/2 times. That would work.
You must have a very small disposal.
I know. It's very finicky.
Anybody else? This isn't as if, why is this hard?
Because
Or
we
harder
measure-
than whole numbers?
We're having to think of something that we normally don't think of a lot.
Like what?
Most of us, we don't think of 3/4 and a half. We think of maybe a whole and a half. We don't usually combine two different fractions.
Normally you don't think of mixed numbers.
Usually when you divide, it gets smaller, but when you're dividing the fractions, it's bigger, and so it doesn't really make sense.
This one's
At
getting,
least to me.
yeah. The numbers don't act like whole numbers, yeah.
I mean, I was gonna say the remainder, I think that's what makes it kind of challenging to describe.
Yeah, because on the way that Jamie was talking about, where she had a 1 3 cups of flour, and each recipe takes, or each pizza takes a half, there's 1, 2, 3, and then what's this? Well, it's a 1/4, but is our answer 3 1/4? It's 3 1/2. Why is it a half if it's a fourth?
Because
Sorry, for each slice of pizza, or for each pizza, you have to have half a cup, and so your whole is 1/2, and then the 1/4 is half of 1/2. So.
Okay. Does everybody see why the answer is 3 1/2, not 3 1/4? It could be 3 remainder a fourth, right? Okay? Here's the key. When do you not divide normally? I mean, what's the situation? When you want to divide, what are you looking for? Well, it's got to be one of the three models, right? In her case, it was take out a half each time, subtracting a half at a time, right? Earlier, we handed you one of these. If you brought it with you, bring it out. If you didn't bring it with you, then, were you here?
No.
That must be yours then. Okay. Did everybody watch how this problem was done? When you go from here to here, you were all taught what? Dividing, you just what? Multiply by the reciprocal, which turns out to be the multiplicative inverse. Why? Because if I take a half and times by 2/1, I get what? 1, which is the multiplicative identity. That's why this is the inverse of that, because it yields the identity. Okay? But why do we do this? We teach kids this, and they ask the question, teacher, why do you flip and multiply? And many of you are taught keep, change, flip, right? Or there's all kinds of different, but why? And most students are never given a satisfactory answer. The teacher will say, yours is not to question why, just invert and multiply. So I've actually found for you it's a middle school curriculum. This is a 6th grade lesson. It's frequently used in 5th grade as well. But it's a lesson where the teacher does not teach keep, change, flip. The student discovers how to divide by fractions. Let's see how it's done. I've written on here, at the bottom of the page here, this is my note. As you work through this investigation with your partner, think about and talk about how you would think a 6th grade student would do this problem. Now remember, they have not been taught to keep, change, flip. They understand fractions. And they've worked a lot with fractions when they get to here, but they don't know how to, and they know how to model fractions very, very well with picture models and other models, but they don't know how to divide. So what would they be thinking? How would they go about solving each of these problems? Okay? So if you'll join me on the next page, think about this. It gives them a context, and they're raising money, and so they've got to do something to raise money. So this kind of gives them the launch and gets them going on this. Then go to page 79 there, problem 7.1. Okay, so they're getting ready for their big fundraising event. I'm just trying to save you some time there, but okay. Answer the following questions. Oops. In preparing food for the sale at the fundraising event, several students faced questions that involved fractions. Answer the questions and give written explanations or diagrams that show your reasoning. Okay? After you've done that, write a number sentence that shows all the calculations that you performed to find your solution. Okay? Would you, with your partner, draw pictures or talk about how the students might think about this to make sense of it? Go ahead.